all at bay. When he was ready, flashed over the top of all of them, lit them all up, and Order were able to win the game.
So talk to me about what AV do now heading into game number 2, because they had something of a more, AV feeling draft for game number 1, but they are known for changing up quite radically.
Yeah, absolutely. I was going to say they need to get harder counter top lane. I think that the real key to success right now, if Order is going to ignore top, is to not play the handshake. Give Chippy's Fiora.
Yeah, okay.
Give him Jax. Give him something that is going to be able to split foot, that is going to be able to 2v1. If Chippies was on Jax, 80 CS up in that game, I guarantee that Order don't try and gank him because he probably just kills the jungler and walks away, and he's absolutely fine with the trade. So I think that give Chippies a harder scaling top laner, a bigger counter pick. I want to see him on Fiora, Jax, Vladimir maybe. That's what he played last time they beat Order. I also think you bring Swathe in.
Yeah.
Even though Sybil played a really good tank game, I don't think you're going to beat Order in 5v5 this weekend.
Well, Swathe is coming in for this next game. Order have taken red side as well.
Yeah, that's really important because he's much better at attacking side lanes in the 1-3-1.
Yeah.
So he's not going to let Spooks do what he did in that game. He also has some picks like the Evelyn, like the Carthless, that you need to be very aware of because they change how League of Legends is played.
Do you think this is a situation where Swathe is coming in having seen how game number 1 went and it was a bit of like a learning exercise for game 1?
Yeah, potentially. In saying that, Order now swapped to red side. I think I heard in my ear, which means that the pathing that he took away is going to be a little bit less. Spooks did have a really good path. He got double scuttle, was about 3 camps up over the Jarvan, which you don't normally see. But Urgot does farm very, very quickly. So I think that less of the pathing and more of the stylistically, we threw the 5v5 teamfight jungler in. Sybil is that. It didn't work out. Let's get our other jungler in. Let's get an early game rolling. I guarantee with a 3,000 gold lead or whatever Avant have, Swathe probably runs over that game and probably is able to really put the hurt in on Order.
And then in this situation, I mean, AV, we were saying one of the younger teams in the OPL.
Yep.
They're heading into Gauntlet. I feel like they were playing relatively confidently in that game. So it's a good showing for them. They need to sit back, learn these lessons, and then go forward with the same level of confidence going to game number 2, not get shook by this. Because, like you said, Order have some veterans on the team who are used to this like grind, this slog, and particularly, over 1, 2, 3 days.
Yeah, and trust me, I've been around AV members. They think they're a better team than Order.
Yeah.
Arrogance is awesome.
Yeah.
Like I always say this, you do not get to be a pro player if you're not confident, if you don't have that self-belief in yourself, in your team, in your coaching staff, all of that stuff.
I mean, it's how we got to where we are today. Just being insanely arrogant.
You have to just exude self-confidence. And they are the team that they wake up in the morning and they say, no one can beat us. And I think that that's really cool. That allows Aladoric to play the way he played, to make that aggressive play in the mid lane. And that could have been like a game-winning play if he caught Xayah a little bit more unaware. If like Xayah preemptively popped the ult, it was like the nerves check, if you will, onto Dream. And I think that their game plan, is pretty sound. Just needs a little bit of tweaking. I think that the areas of the map they want to aggressively attack is not bottom lane. I think Dream and Jake are playing too well. Go attack Tally and, free up Aladoric to roam around.
And we did speak about whether or not AV will change the way that they draft. Do you think that they'll clamp down on the Order draft that we saw today, that we saw yesterday? Or are they going to go, no, we are going to take the game the way that we want to take it and we're just going to learn to deal with this?
Well, the thing is that Order's going to play red side for the first time all weekend right now.
Yep.
So they've played 5 blue side games and they've won 4 of them. So people would think that's pretty crazy to change onto red side. I think that Order is very worried about Chippies. They see Chippies as the game winner in this series. Taking red side means that Chippies can't get that coveted counter pick. They can hold a flex for a very long time, into 4-5, but he can't outright counter James every single game. And I think that this is going to tell us whether Order has the right strategy. Because if, Order lose on red side here, let's say it's a 20-minute stomp in Avant's favor, all of a sudden you're like, hey guys, you've won 4 out of 5 games. You got an 80% win rate. That's going to get it done for you. Why are you changing the game plan now? So really, Avant don't have to change anything because Order's changed it for them and kind of taken all that pressure back on themselves.
All right, fantastic. I cannot wait to get into game number 2. Before we do, I do need to ask, Bryce, did you look up Kramer over the course of the last game?
Absolutely not. It's as simple as that. I mean, I know who Kramer is.
It's just the guy that slides in the door.
I know. Yes, I know. He's like the funny, goofy-looking tall guy. That's like, hey.
It was the hair. Is like real.
Yeah, I know who he is. Okay. I just don't I haven't seen much Seinfeld. I've seen like an episode here and there.
It was before your time. It's okay.
I feel like Seinfeld is everyone's time.
I am ashamed to be in this room with you right now. I just
it's 2019, Nick. Stop talking about Seinfeld. You bloody old farts. God, all 3 of you. No,
all right, fine. Let's stop talking about Seinfeld. Let's start talking about the McDonald's Champions Select because we are about to get into it. So I'm officially going to hand it over to the desk Boys, please take it away.
Thank
All
you.
right.
Thank you so
Excellent.
much.
We are ready to get into the picks and bans pretty quickly. Bryce, I only have one question for you, though.
Yeah, what is it?
How many buttons do you think Nick Boy's going to undo?
Oh, I hope no more than 3.
Okay.
He's already got 3. And
I was about to say, I think we're already maxed out in that
yeah,
case.
I'm pretty sure we're not getting any more. I hope so.
Yeah.
I think I start breaking Twitch regulations if I do.
Yes.
Yeah.
Don't want that.
You just keep
Yes.
the laptop in front of you. It's
But
fine.
anyway, we are going to get into game number 2 fairly soon, and it is interesting already. Swaith coming in, I feel like AV are a different team with Swaith. He it's not to do with how like the junglers interact. It's with how the junglers affect the rest of their team. Swaith makes the game about him. He picks the Evelyn. He picks the Kayn into the.
Is it a larger gravity, right? Everything kind of comes in towards him.
And he, like, you can see it from solo queue. And I'm a guy, like, I still play solo queue with a lot of the pros, and I put a decent amount of stock in what I see with, like, people's mindsets and that sort of stuff. He's the guy that tells everyone what to do. He sits there and he's like, no, ward here, level 1, like, I'm going to do this to this.
It's a voice in the team.
And he just pings. And I guarantee that translates to competitive. He sits there, and, like, Sybil is probably much more of, like, the team player. He wants to play, like, the Sejuani, gets his Elise band away, play, like, the Java in that game, and he's like, okay, guys, what do we need?
Yeah.
What do you need me to do? Swaith is like, no, not what we need. Like, this is what I need right now. Like, do this. And I feel like he's much more of a dominant voice.
And it works out for them, though.
That's
I mean,
just my read, yeah.
Like, the fact of the matter is, Swaith has been the primary jungler for this team, so it was a little bit perhaps surprising to see Sybil come in. Now, he didn't play badly, and I don't think the team played badly, but you pointed it out at the beginning of the game, or when they started the snowball rolling, that sometimes what Avant have gotten in trouble with is trying to close games out when they haven't had sufficient lead. That's exactly what happened.
That was the best example that game. Like, it was, I feel like the big turning point was that mid-team fight where Guncrab just goes zooming into the back line. As soon as that happened, AV didn't win another team fight. Like, after that point, it was always the Zillion and the Kai'Sa was split up, and Order, they were just the 5-man group. You heard Jake talk about it on the couch.
Right.
It's Urgot, it's Sion just standing there, just tanking everything, and Dream just gets to free hit. Swiffer gets to free hit on the back line. Like, that is exactly the game they wanted. If that game gets torn apart, if AV do find a way to play their 1-3-1 and stuff like that, then it looks completely differently. But they had a big lead for large portions. Now, different jungler, different sides of the rift. Very first time we've seen Order here in the last couple of days, and I assume will be a very different game.
And you're not wrong about that one. Order have not played on the red side all Gauntlet just yet. Things start to shift up. Let's see how the bans shape up differently, because the Xayah is removed from the table. This is something that Mammoth started doing yesterday against Order.
Yep. It did look pretty successful. You mix up the Xayah Rakan. If Order doesn't ban Alistar here, then I think Xayah priority, Rakan priority, even in isolation of the Xayah, probably goes
champion.
Down.
But yeah,
and,
not as much.
That would mean stuff like the Lucian, like the Hecarim is up, and they don't go for it. So this changes the support pool already. This is an Alistar being there. This is, like, potentially the Braum. This is the Galio that has been banned away, actually. So I changed my mind there, but this is going to be a different looking bottom lane than we saw last game.
Well, we also know that Order are one of those teams that already kind of like the Enchantress supports anyway, so we might end up getting like something like a Nami coming through here. Depends on what happens, but the first pickup is the Lissandra for Shock, and now it could still be the flexible pick, but I got a feeling that that's who it's going to.
And it can, and I guarantee you everybody in chat just saw Swiffer do the pray emoji hands. They see the lock-in of the list, and he's just like, yes, thank you. So this must have been predicted. Their preparation has looked fairly good over the course of the weekend, and they're fairly happy with this already. It is the Braum lock-in for Jake, so he's not going to be on the Enchanter. His Morgana's been banned away the entire series. They will be able to pick that one up, but lots of things still are up for question. The Kayle pick is there. Is this now a red side pick for Order? Do they take it 2-3 and then ban for it immediately? The Hecarim is there for both of these guys.
It's a Zoe lock-in for Swiffer. Okay, so now we know what that prayer emoji was about. And he's feeling pretty confident if that's the case.
Yep, this is a tried and tested matchup. Has been here for the entirety of the split and is very Zoe favored. Liss is just that champion that gets to sit there, farm up, be very useful, has a lot of utility. You can gank the Zoe if you want, like if you can set things up for yourself, but is fairly difficult. But that's a pretty baller lock-in.
Yeah, it really is. Early Vayne for Guncrab. Now we know he loves those hyper carries, but that was like almost no hesitation.
Yeah, it's much more to do with the Braum lock-in, right? Because the supports are the ones that bully the lane. It isn't with, like, when you take away the Kalista is still up and she can be pretty oppressive, but like when you take away the Lucian, when you take away Dream Xayah, you think about the support pool. The AD carry pool, they're not going to bully Vayne that much. It comes from the support. It's like playing Vayne into a Nami, into a Morgana. That hurts. Into a Braum, you can get away with it. So all of a sudden they split off the Xayah Rakan. They ban the Xayah, take the Rakan for themselves, and do get Guncrab that hyper carry in the Vayne. He's been playing Jinx all split. He's been playing the Tristanas. I'm not quite sure if we've seen him specifically on the Vayne, but this is a pick that is in his wheelhouse and suits his style. So AV certainly comfortable in this regard.
They certainly are. Now, actually, it would be the... No, it's not the first Vayne. There's been a couple of Vayne performances on Gunkrab.
Okay.
One win, one loss, but you're right. We always think of him as more of like that pop-off and reset.
They prefer to give the blind hyper carry and then take Jinx.
Yeah.
I feel like is the way I would look at it. They like to be able to like pick into what the enemy choose, and
I think it's going to be a spicy bot lane, though, because they've got the Rakan paired with it. Now, like, that does tell me that they're going to try to set up some plays early.
I think, actually, in my eyes, like, looking at this draft, this is going to be a spicy top lane. I feel like it probably should be a 4th pick for Spooks, and he's going to play something standard, like, they banned away the Kha'Zix, so maybe they're looking for, like, the Rek'Sai, the Lee Sin.
Ooh, Talia ban.
Maybe they just go back towards the Urgot with the Talia ban, but this is going to be a 5th pick for Tally, and given that there is such a stable bottom lane, it's the Kai'Sa, it's the Braum, Swiffer's matchup is a stable one as well. Like, Tally is really the one here that has the room to grow, and that is a Hecarim ban. This could be, if we're going to see the Kayle, I think this is it. I really hope we see the goddamn Kayle. This would be so interesting.
Well, we might have to wait another pick for it to happen. Order hovering on the Urgot for Spooks once again. Had a pretty good performance on it both yesterday and today. It has been let through the bans once more, and it does get locked in, so Spooks takes that one. Do Avant go for the Kayle?
No, Order go for the Kayle. AV, they're flexing the list. They're going to maybe counter-pick mid. They take a jungle for Swaith. I feel like Swaith is going to be the interesting point of contention here. What is his matchup into the Urgot? We haven't really seen it for a while, but that's Shaka's boys. That's an Evelyn.
Oh, we got an Eve locked in. Okay. And it's Chippy's going back on his signature Olaf.
Okay. So list mid into Zoe guaranteed. Blind pick Olaf is something Chippies has done so many times. They are picking the hard force priority top lane.
Oh.
Please do it. Please do it, James. Please do it, Tally. Lock it in.
Oh. Playing with your heart there.
He's thinking about it.
Oh, he's really having a lot of
Don't go the Tron. No Renekton.
No, 3
Go
seconds
for the
left.
Kayle.
It's Kayle!
Okay.
All right, we got it locked in for Tally. Bryce, take it away.
This is going to be interesting. I expect Kayle to get completely demolished in the early game. Tally is going to do nothing and nothing for a while. If he has a good laning phase, then like I feel like it is super rough. This champion turns online fairly late into the game and then is super obnoxious. I've seen so many times they fall mega far behind, but as long as there is that light at the end of the tunnel, Kayle will get to a point where eventually she will just do disgusting amounts of damage. And I feel like Jake's going to hate me for saying that. Because he talks about it all the time. Like, Kayle's 1v1 is actually pretty good. Like, akin to a Darius. Level 1, she's just a melee champion, but her damage numbers are quite good. So I expect maybe there will be some early game fighting, but in terms of as this tracks on, as this gets later and later, they have the hyper carry of the Kai'Sa. They've got the front line of the Braum of the Urgot, and first time we've seen Kayle. We've seen it overseas, but it has been banned almost every single game this Gauntlet against Order. We see how Tally does. This is an important game.
And how about that new design too? She's terrifying. If you just look at the eyes. Those are like you do not want to be judged by those
big eyes.
Yeah.
Kayle's all about judging people.
Yeah, well, she is literally all about judging people. Bit impractical on the armor though. You see that meme that's been floating around? Like, hey, bend over to pick something up and get stabbed by her own chest plate.
Yeah, that's
yeah, it's a little bit unfortunate. But she doesn't need to bend over. She's smacking you upright all the time. All right, let's talk with our on-stage coach of Avant Gaming. It is still Ballin, who is, as always, Ballin. Welcome to the desk.
Thank you very much, guys.
All right, so your team's down 0-1 right now.
Yeah.
What is the mood overall? Is everyone brushing it off, or is there a bit of nerve showing?
No, I think the mood's pretty good. We felt like we had pretty good control in that first game. We just sort of let ourselves down a bit in the team fight. And going into this game, the boys are still very confident.
And I want to ask about mood, not after that game, because I feel like, yeah, as you mentioned, like it was like a disappointing end to it. But how was it going into today? How was it yesterday? Like the guys watching Orders games, like sitting back, did they take a lot away for it? Did they come into today confident with what they saw yesterday?
Yeah, definitely. Look, Order had a great showing yesterday as well, so we're not taking them lightly. But yeah, the guys are confident. We feel like that we can come away with the win here. If we continue what we did in the first game, but then just clean up some of those sort of smaller things around the team fight and stuff like that, we think we can get the win.
All right, so just zooming out a little bit more on it before we let you go, I just want to ask a little bit about this Gauntlet appearance for Avant Gaming, a team that has a long history in the OPL. How does it mean, or what does it mean for you to just kind of see them making it this far already?
Oh, it's great. It's awesome. I mean, this is, for the regular season, this is the best result Avant have had. So
yeah.
we're super proud of the boys to get us to this point, and we're supporting them as best we can to see them through the rest of the gauntlet.
5th place meme is dead.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's it.
already done better. Let's see if they can keep improving on it. Thank you so much,
Thanks,
Stillbomb,
guys.
for joining us. Always good to hear about the confidence levels. And, honestly, a Wednesday for either of these teams just kind of builds on that improvement level, right? It's already Avant's best performance. And
It's only up from here.
yeah, it is. And if Order win, by the way, the 4th place is dead.
4th place meme is dead. Yeah.
They're already at least 4th.
Yeah, stop killing memes. I like memes.
Yeah. Well, I know you like memes. That's all you've got, Bryce.
That's a character roast. Don't attack my personality on camera. Thank you very much. What the hell is that?
I mean, have you been on this broadcast? That's all we do.
That's a little bit of a roughie. But I do want to say we talked a lot about the cow. We talked a lot about Order. AV have got themselves a very AV composition. Guncrab on the hyper carry. Chippies has his O-Life. He's had so many successful games on this pick. And Swaith came in after watching game number 1. He's picked up. It's not the Jarvan. They drop the priority for the jungle. They take the Eve into the Urgot. This is their first shown answer to this pick that Spooks has been playing the last couple of days, and this is in classic AV fashion. They had the lead in the early game number 1. Can they replicate?
Order going for a cheeky invade here. Will get spotted on the ward, and they know it, so they can clear it away, but it looks like it's just going to force the vertical jungling change.
And you can see they knew exactly what was going on. AV have read this play before. Red side Braum, this is what they do. They walk in, they take your red buff. There's not a lot you can do about it. That champion level 1 concussive blows just does too much damage and too much CC. So Swaith is ready for the top side. He walks in. Will just be some vertical jungling between the two and fairly standard starts across the board.
Yeah. All right, so we do want to keep our eyes towards the top lane because not only does Chippies have the Olaf, which is always an exciting time, and he runs the best skin in the game.
Yes, I didn't know the axe on this skin says Braggy Eyes.
It does.
That's cool.
Branded advertisement for good old Gragas.
Chug chug.
Yeah. All right. Right on cue. But I do want to talk more about the Kayle as well because this is the first time we're seeing it in the OPL since the change. So for those of us who haven't seen a lot of the other international performances, what is new Kayle all about?
She's quite similar to old Kayle. Just a little bit different in a couple of ways, right? Like, you cannot ulti yourself and still be able to auto-attack. When you use your ultimate on an ally, on yourself, or whatever, you do kind of the Xayah thing, where you shoot up into the sky and you can't cast any of your buttons. You're just invulnerable and untargetable.
Just gotta get some use out of those wings, man.
Yeah, absolutely. But her abilities are functionally pretty much similar. She still has the heal. She still has the Q that throws out an ability, and it does like an AoE slow, stuff like that. But as she progresses further on into this game, she gets her range. Right, like you hit the level 6 mark, the level 11 mark, the level 16 mark, and then she is a fully fledged ranged champion, and she is still a hyper-scaling monster that old Kayle players are used to seeing, so it's not too different, it just looks a lot different.
Yeah, it's kind of like with Morgana, where her biggest change is that she gets that auto speed boost walking it up. But yeah, little visual updates as well, and speaking of, you know why I love that Olaf skin so much?
Why's that?
Because it was the first skin that I bought in League.
Oh,
and
really?
I got it for, I had, you remember like how there's like an old kind of meme that's really true, that if you like write in with some fan art to Riot, they'd give you like 2 RP if you were just short.
Yeah.
I actually did that back in the day.
Oh,
it was always like, they'd never admit it happened, but it always happened. Spoiler alert. And they now host all of that art on a website, which I forget the exact name of. Yeah. But point is, I did fan art of Broloff, and it was just him like shrugging, and he was like, "You help a bro out? I'm 2 RP down." And they sent it to me. And I was like, sweet. So that's why it's my favorite skin.
That's an axe that is landed. That's a flash predict.
Big old Charmand Telly, and he's in a spot of bother. That's first blood to the Olaf.
And Swaith comes in game number 2, and he comes into this game big. That was a flash charm predict onto Tally after the flash comes out, and that's just an easy kill. This wave position as well. Chippies just cops the reset immediately, pushing towards him. He feels very good about that one, and Spooks may be looking for the counter. If Chippies TP's onto the wave, there's potential for a gank here, but he's just walking.
Wow, that's actually really good right now for the Avant lineup. So, good start. Meanwhile, there's a big play down on the bottom side, or it looked like there was going to be, but Aladoric was already out of there. So, Avant, a good start for them again, and they get a 2-for-1 flash deficit, but the first blood onto Chippies ain't too bad.
Yeah, absolutely. Olaf is a champion that can get out of control, and we've seen it get out of control fairly quickly. So we're going to see this one again. Charm comes out, and flash into flash. He doesn't read the flash. He predicts it. He flashes first. Does Swaith, and Chappie just goes into the CC, but this is a gank on bottom
joining
side.
The play as well. Here we go. Dream knows he's a dead man, and he goes down to Guncrab Gold into the pocket of the Vayne. Avant's carries are starting to stack him up. We're only 5 minutes in, Bryce.
Yeah, that's just a great roam out of Shock, you know. He has come out with a reset. It's TP versus no TP, and all that does is buy you a single wave of priority. Swift has been shoving him in the entire laning phase, but that was the one-time use. He presses the button, he walks down to bottom lane, and Dream gets caught napping underneath. He may just get in round number 2.
Yeah, okay, well, sleepy
Drowsy
trouble bubble,
lands.
though, so Shock is maybe in trouble himself as Spooks comes out of the brush and to take down the Lissandra.
And they immediately get the counter-attack. They know he eventually has to come back mid lane and bites off a little bit more than he can chew. Spooks is there waiting, and they pick up a nice kill.
Yeah, a lot of action back and forth. Game number 1, definitely not an outlier here, and already Swiffer getting some good chunk damage on this turret. Should be able to secure that first. Ooh, hold up. He gets charmed out by Swaith. No, he does finally get the tower plating. Good job.
And I will say that that pick was more impactful than we will see. Because if not for the Lissandra dying there, all of a sudden he gets back, he evens out mid-wave, and this top wave that Chippies is currently sitting on just gets crashed into the turret. If Shock can get any priority, if Swaith can force that lane and they just get to walk topside and deny Tally any sort of this farm, then he gets put in a very large hole. He's already 5 to 6. We'll probably proc number 6, as you see, off this wave, but they want to be looking to keep this snowball rolling in the hands of the Olaf, but because Order get the answer, it's kind of an option unavailable there, and he does just get to farm it up.
Oh, Dork looking for another play. I mean, you did call that this was going to be a lane that was going to be tough for Tally. I believe your exact wording was boomed. I'm just guessing there.
Yep. I think I said absolutely destroyed.
Oh, excuse me.
He's not in absolutely destroyed territory yet.
No, not quite. In fact, the farm is at least close to
like,
even.
He's caught himself back up pretty well, right? Like, he TP back to the wave. Chippies has held his TP, so the advantage is kind of in the fact that he maintains that TP advantage and they can continue influencing bottom plays.
No flash, though. Ooh, Swaith reveals himself. Tally immediately nopes out of there.
Yep, the wave comes in at just the right timing. Off stage right, and just shoots behind that one. Swaith no flash, so no ability to go over the wave there, and does just kind of walk away.
So game 1, we focused a lot on bottom lane because there were so many team plays. Game 2, we've been looking at top because of the matchup.
Yeah.
A couple of junglers intervening. But I think we're going to have to turn our attention to mid pretty soon because this is something that they're going to want on the Order side to start snowballing Swiffer ahead.
Yep, Swaith. Does he get spotted? He
He
does get spotted, but they're looking for it. That's a cleanse.
However, they can't get him twice. This time he's under tower, dodging out the bubble. Nicely done by Shock and Swaith. However, a little bit of chunk damage on the way out. Shock does find himself about down to half health.
And yeah, this is honestly an Eve from an early game that has had a pretty high impact already. He gets the cleanse, gets the flash out of Swiffer. He got the early gank onto Tally into the top side. Spooks is no slouch either. He has been farming relatively quickly, and they got that takedown onto Shock. He's been looking for a bunch of these counter ganks, but this is a much more even early game than we saw in game number 1. Jake hit on it in the couch. It was Order continually forcing these plays, and unfortunately they weren't working out for anyone but Dream. He was just going up in gold, going up in XP and CS, but
If you're Order, you'll take it, though.
everything around him was somewhat crumbling, but this bottom lane is a completely different story. They're onto Jake.
Onto the level 6, they found Jake. The damage is there. There's going to be a flash out from him and Dream as well.
Spooks
the
is
target
coming.
was going to be the support, but Spooks coming in. He decides to shotgun down that ward that was on the control.
Yep. They just straight up forced the play. The level 6 there for the Rakan, but not there for the Braum, so Jake loses the flash and barely just scrapes away with his life.
Yeah, there's no flashes anywhere on the bottom side, actually. Aladoric had already burned his and Gunkrab in the engagement. So 8 minutes, 47 seconds on the clock. It's a slim gold lead for Avant Gaming right now, mostly off the back of that extra kill they've got.
Yep. We'll also have to note that the Dragon isn't useless. We've got ourselves a Mountain Dragon.
Ooh,
And for both of these comps, honestly, Kaiser comp as well as the Vayne, they both do Baron relatively quickly, so a Mountain Dragon tracking into the later portions of this game is certainly very useful for both sides of the map.
Yeah, Swiffer's got himself a Spell Thief's Redemption. That feels good, man.
He's had a couple.
Yeah.
That's a roughie.
I remember Rusty saying just
Yeah.
absolutely disgusting yesterday.
Rusty, he's going to be sitting backstage right now just hating that so much. He hates the Redemption randomly
And it's
locked
up
in.
against his team.
Yep,
Oof.
that's what I'm saying. It's an extra tough. I will note as well that Chippies hasn't been able to find a use case for his teleport advantage. Tally burnt the TP after dying to the first gank to keep up in CS and to keep himself individually in the lane, right? As here's a
Flash
force.
into the play, the stun onto the Zoe as the Sleepy Trouble Bubble lands. Doesn't matter. They tag team it in, and Swaith will clean up the kill.
That is just a very nice kill. They know he has no flash. They know he has no cleanse. They force the play. Aladoric has the timing right, and Zoe is just straight up dead to rights. You see Swaith immediately walks towards the top side of the map, even when he was on vision of the wave, so they could look for a dive onto the Kale, but I feel like Rift Herald will be the play here, and They just want to continue playing with this pressure, continuing opening up this map for an Evelyn that serves them very well.
You can already see the big difference in how Swathe plays. It's like you were talking about in the picks and bans. It is all about setting him up and him just kind of directing the team where to go. And it's kind of interesting when you think about it, because of the two junglers. Well, hold on a second. I'll talk about that in a minute.
Yeah, pings onto the TP wards behind the bottom lane of Order, and I feel like Shock is definitely looking for it. He's just sitting in base right now. Chippy's is hitting the top lane turret, and he's still sitting there. There is an ulti from the Rakan, and they don't pull the trigger.
Yeah, okay, so Spooks is going to be able to clean up this Mountain Dragon as well. And yeah, what I wanted to talk about is, it's interesting that Swathe is the one that seems to be calling more of the action, because Sybil, he's the one that has a lot more of that big stage experience.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like, you look at last game, and like, you don't look at Sybil as the differentiating factor. Like, he had a very good game. The early game, he was like a 2-0 and 7 Jarvan, and was punishing a bunch of the overextensions, right? But just a completely different style here with the Evelyn, and looking to continually force this around the map. He is behind a couple of camps for Spooks. You kind of somewhat expect that, given his activity on the map, given that he did just solo out the Rift Herald and get a couple dropped. But yeah, we are 11 minutes into the game. Swiffer.
Oh, he's caught again, and he has only the cleanse. Do they have the damage to follow through? Swathe! Oh, that was so close on the last caress.
Slight miscalculation of damage, and unfortunately they cannot find the kill, but Rift Herald is potentially going to be dropped in the middle lane. I was going to say, we're only 11 minutes into the game. 14 minutes, this is just going to be a plate game, as they call it over in the LEC. This is gold going to be straight up in the hands of Shock and Swathe. They're not going to get the turret, but they will get a bunch of gold off the back end.
Yeah, Shelly's going to go do her job, and, well, Order do deny the finish of the tower, but it doesn't matter. As you said, it was a plate gang looking for those plays. I wanted to say before the play all started, though, Spooks has been no slouch in keeping up the pace with Swathe. He picked up that Mountain Dragon, very critical for both teams, as you pointed out.
Certainly the case, and Swiffer is still incredibly low from the earlier gank. He hasn't found a time to reset, and
here's first brick, I think.
Yeah, Aladoric roaming up the map once again. This could be first brick if Swathe sticks around. He's going to show his face, so Spooks kind of has to respect the 1v2 and has to stand here and watch his turret fall.
Yeah. Oh, get it shot. Nicely done, though, Avant. They'll start to cement a bit more of a gold lead here. It's about 2,000 and a half, getting close to it in favor of Avant Gaming. Now Chippy's looking to dive under Tally, and he actually flashes away. Bit of a miscalculation there.
Yeah,
the ultimate used by Tally.
Just a little bit weird. He's already burnt the ulti of Tally, so no way he was going to look for it.
There's the charm and the bubble.
There it is.
Here comes Spooks, and oh boy, that paddle star's starting to sting.
No need for the execute when Swiffer has just enough damage to take him down. That's an ulti-less Evelyn, and he gets caught out. Greed's out for a little bit of a camp, and all of a sudden, Order, they find a little bit of respite here on the top side of the map.
The flip side of an aggressive jungler. Sometimes you get a little bit of blood in your eyes and you go too deep. Nicely done, though, by the combo of Spooks and Swiffer. And yeah, this is Zoe. She does a lot of damage, even on half an item.
Certainly does. That was a max range paddle star. Harder to hit now. I was being told once you have Merc Treads, you cannot land like a max range paddle style off a sleep. Just because like they have Merc Treads and they walk away too quick because they reduce the time that you are bubbled, and they changed a couple of things. Order is still looking. That's a flip.
Proto Belt certainly coming in handy there for Shock.
You can see a cheeky little grin on his face. He's very happy with that one. The flash flip is realistically the big gank tool that Urgot has. If not, he relies on everybody else doing the work, and he just gets his execute. He gets to throw down a slow and
that's another flash burn by
look
Spooks
for that play, but yeah, that's a Proto Belt for flash trade, and that has to feel good for AV fans.
Careful, Ali. He's going to be able to battle dance it back, and yeah, right now Avant definitely
he gets it.
Being able to run this one as Spooks takes a lot of damage off the back of the charm, but Dream covers his escape. First items completed both for the AD carries. Blade of the Rune King on the Vayne and Stormrazor on Space Vayne, as Rusty likes to call it.
And it isn't a Energizer, or sorry, a Fleet Footwork Space Vayne here with the Kai'Sa. It's actually a PTA, so going for a little bit more
attack
of
for those of you not familiar. What? Big old knock up on Jake, and immediately look at this. Aladoric looking to make the play. Gunkrab trying to walk it out, but Dream follows him through on some serious execution here, and Spooks makes sure he secures the kill.
And that was just such a nice 2v2. Jake lands the Q. Concussive Blows is being procced already by Dream, and they just hard commit to the play. He throws out the ulti. They have Kai'Sa ultis to chase down. Gunkrab burnt literally every summoner spell and still fell down. Or to find bot side, but AV, they're looking for the answer.
Yeah, that was Dream and Jake we were expecting after seeing him play out yesterday. It looks like a bit of a tower trade going on here, and it will be Order finding one. Avant still had the lead because they have the mid tower already, but Chippy can finish this off pretty easily with the minion wave.
Certainly is the case. Does get the gold all to himself and will be able to back away, but this is still a game that is pretty even. Gold lead equalizing somewhat here. It went from 2K, now back down to 1. Next dragon is spawning. I'm not sure which one it is, actually. We've already got the mountain in the hands of Order after Spooks takes that one. And
tagging down. Looks like
you,
it is
a
Cloud Drake, so it's a go fast.
Yeah, come on, bro.
Not as exciting for Bryce Paul.
Give me something better than that. And I do want, as we have a little bit of downtime, to talk about something. I'm a support main. I like talking about supports. I feel like coin into Targons is so incredibly rough for the Targons. Once lane finishes, Jake is going to get absolutely no gold. He's a melee champion, so it's not like a Thresh where he's going to be able to cheat out a cannon or stuff like that. But any time that Aladoric catches a wave with his AD carry, he's getting maybe like 1 to 2 stacks of the coin, and that's like 100 gold straight up. And
it starts to add up.
Yeah, that coin is realistically the only support item that continually gets value. Spell Thieves is hard to proc. You really only proc it in hardcore fights. There's no sense of trading when you're a support once the laning phase ends. So certainly a rough situation.
Speaking of rough situation, oh boy. Everyone's pinging on right now.
Oh,
Sean tries to get away. He actually flashes out here. And into the back goes Dream. Oh, the tag team League of Legends.
And that was such a clutch W. It lands it just before he goes over the wall, and there's no way for Shock to flash away from that one. And Dream just cleans up the kill. The turret did go down on the bottom side of the map, but Order, they get the pick onto the mid laner. They're looking to slam this mid wave into the turret, and Swathe is here to defend, but so is the bot lane from Order. This is going to be a rough one to hold.
Yeah, and now it's Order that are actually pushing on this mid side. You already had seen Avant take down a tower down bot, but it's just trades back and forth. 2 towers to 3 now. Avant the one's in the lead with it. Dragon spawn, but Guncrab's not going to go for that one anyways. Just starts warming up, heating up a little bit more. 1,000 gold is the only lead in this game.
Yep. That's a level 11 dinged here for the Klepto Kale. Has himself the Triforce, as still maintains the use of his stopwatch. So, honestly, Tally, after the first kill, you look at the lane, it's like, we've seen Chippy snowball these ones out before, but he's done a very good job at holding. He's been respecting any sort of dive threat that Swathe has thrown up towards the top side of the map. And the CS lead is honestly growing smaller. I feel like it was 40 at some stage this game, and is now in the ballpark of 13. He is clawing his way back into this game.
Tally has
5 more levels, and he is probably the scariest champion in League of Legends.
Well, that means Avant definitely have a timer ticking right now. Already the Trinity Force completed. First Cloud Dragon does fall. Another one will be spawning the next time it hits the Rift. And Avant looking to try and speed things up best they can.
Yep. Certainly the case. 17 minutes 50, so 2 minutes before the big purple worm is alive and an objective for them to be able to play for. I feel like I'm really looking at Swathe at these portions of the game. You now have the entire outer ring of turrets broken on Order's side of the map. He's got a lot of room to play with to start looking for these creative plays. And we've seen him do it multiple times in the OPL in professional games before, where Eve is that champion that doesn't play with your team. You kind of play on the opposite side. You're looking for a flank. You're looking to be somewhere where Order thinks you cannot be. And the power of, the element of surprise is realistically like Eve's strongest point. You come from behind, you have that ulti to be able to keep that safe space and the execute damage and look for those picks. And they really need to start happening for AV to be able to continue pressuring on in this game.
But Order have to realize that, so for the time being, they're actually playing it out in a bit of a death ball fashion. Not 100% of the way. They're not keeping all 5 together. You do have Tally on side lane duty.
Yep.
But for the most part, they're actually sticking together quite close and making it difficult for Swathe to pull off some of those plays.
Yeah, that's the Order way, in all honesty. They
do love the
do
death
that
ball.
sort of stuff a lot. Swiffer was looking for something. Did land asleep.
Oh, Avant do not want that fight.
Shock has to claw away, and that was the Ergon ulti blown by Spook, so doesn't have an execute available anymore. Chippy's very nice dodge.
He would have the Ragnarok available to him, and Avant looks to close a gap here. Jake throws up the big door. Tally has TP if he needs it.
And you might see that pink ward that was just kind of sitting in the middle of the lane and be like, what the hell is that for? And that's literally what I'm talking about. That's for Eve. If Order want to get mid priority, it A, denies any sort of vision that they can have on Order's side of the map in that mid wave, but it means that Swathe will be spotted if he looks for a turnaround. If they look to contest up that mid lane and look to pressure a little bit more, the Eve will be looking for that sort of stuff. So vision very nicely switched up and adapted here to play around the Evelyn.
On the top side, Shock gonna find himself not caught out. He's always got the claw to work with.
Yeah, he's got some
Jaker up there.
Hella claw value this game. He's just been able to E away
Shock
from so many
Shock has
things.
died twice, and it could have been a lot more.
Yeah.
They were focusing a lot of pressure on him in the early game. And honestly, we talked about the Zoe matchup being pretty beneficial for him. Ooh, it stops just short here. Actually, they go for the Urgot play, looking for Spooks. The charm's on. Looking for the damage on the Vayne. It's Swaith that gets the finishing blow. Do they want to keep going into this fight in the last caress? In comes the Olaf. Chippy's trying to make it Ragnarok, but Tally's turned it around. The rest of Order decide they can take the fight after all. Swiffer forced to flash away. Good juggle on the damage, and now they will be able to take down Shock. Finally,
Tally's
the double
killing
kill.
everyone.
Looking for more. He's going to get himself a triple. And all of a sudden, things are starting to come up Order.
And AV, they look for the play. They find the pick onto Spooks, but the Kale ulti comes through. It keeps Dream alive as he dives into the backline. And all of a sudden, this Kale, 30 CS behind, gets a triple kill in a singular team fight. And that's going to be Baron right on 20 minutes.
They have the Mountain Dragon. Spooks is coming up. They can juggle around the Baron aggro, and Order well earned on the Baron. Once again, starting to turn this game in their favor.
Yeah, gold lead completely swings. That was a 1,000 gold lead team fight for AV. They look to commit onto Spooks, and they do find him. They have the numbers immediately. TP's come in at relatively the same time, but they've just got no more buttons left. Shock doesn't have ulti, Rakan doesn't have ulti, and Chippies goes in. He is a very big Olaf, but does absolutely nothing. He gets shredded on the backline, and look where Gunkrab and Swaith are. They've used everything there is to use, and Tally, no ultimate, 20% HP, just gets to stand there, be a ranged champion that Kale now is, whack away everyone with the Braum passive, and he just cleaned the hell up.
Chaotic fight, and also look at the value that he was able to get out of that ultimate, putting it onto Dream, and that kind of just meant that while Dream was more or less out of the fight for the next 10 seconds, they couldn't take him down. So Order come up with the better numbers overall. They have the 1,500 gold lead to themselves, and all of a sudden they drive the tempo.
Yeah, and there's still a decent amount of standing gold on the map. They only have 2 turrets right now. This turret is dead to rights. There's no way AV are looking to defend this one at all. You can see Swaith is tracking towards the bottom side, potentially looking for a dive onto Kale, like we saw them do last game, where you pick on the side lane once you cannot contest the 4, and you have a little bit of time to play with, but Order, they do send their Braum back. They're sending someone to catch the Kale. We saw them do this yesterday versus Mammoth, and all of a sudden 3 members on the top side. They're looking to pressure this one in and crash the waves with Baron Buff.
Man, what a statement it would be if Order ends up going 2-0 up in this series. The team that barely made it into the Gauntlet themselves. I think even beating Mammoth yesterday felt like a bit of a surprise considering the caliber of the players on that team, but they just had such stellar teamwork controlling the chaos, and they're doing it here again.
Because I was talking about it yesterday on the couch, and Jake just hit on it mid-segment. This is Order's side of the map. Like, this is their side selection. They came into it, they've played and won 4 games of League of Legends on blue side. AV have the highest seed this set, so they get 1, 3, and 5. Where in game number 2, Order switches it up. They say, yeah, give us red side. All of a sudden, Kale isn't banned. They get to play a red side composition. If they win this, they're already on match point after a disastrous early game in game number 1, and all of the pressure is all on AV at this point if they can take the game out.
Let's see if AV can take the flank right now. You can see Swaith sniffing around here. The Olaf is backed away. Tally's already down to half health, but Order play it safe. They stay together, and they don't push too deep.
Halidoric has the flash, and you saw the flank was coming from Swaith, so there was certainly potential. Order have to respect it. They see Tally's HP bar and go, look, let's not overcommit with this one. We've taken 2 turrets already with the Baron. The gold lead is growing a little bit. It's not the biggest, most explosive Baron we've seen in the OPL, but continually just looking to play this one out slow. They're happy for a slow game. They're happy to let themselves scale up that little bit further, and they continue this way.
Avant are going for it right now, though. They're sniffing into the jungle to see if they can find these picks off the back of Swaith.
They don't see Braum.
Jake, he doesn't see anybody. Now, oh, just a second. There's Chippies.
Swaith is
Chucks the
behind
axe,
them.
and here comes the claw. They don't take it.
And that is such a nice read. Jake has had an incredible Gauntlet series so far. Him just being there, knowing that the only play they can look for is to pick on the Kale, puts himself between, like, he just says stand behind Braum. That is literally what he did. Puts himself between the Kale and the Eve. Swaith throws out the charm and is like, yeah, man, there's no way I'm procking that. Let's walk away, and Order, they get complete mid-priority for it. Their Baron is all but gone, but they still have the numbers here to look for the fight.
Yeah, and once again, Avant are kind of back to square one here, trying to defend this already leaking tower. And it's going to be pretty easy cleanup. Oh, big bubble onto Shock right now, and they don't need to threaten the kill because they have the threat constantly. Tower taken down here.
They do get the inhib turret, looking to continue the pressure here onto the inhib. Shock is actually going for a reset here, so Order have all the time in the world. That inhib is basically dead.
There it goes. Polish it off right now, Order. Slow march to victory here as they choose split off for a second. Avant on the chase, and well, there's the hop.
And that's a difficult siege. No Baron. Like, you're on their side of the map. They have the Liz flank. They have the Eve flank, but they just find the damage they need. They break the base completely. Mid-inhib now down and probably will be down for the next Baron spawn, so they're always going to have that priority. Order. It's just a fairly clean closeout of this game right now. The gold lead is steadily closing. They had the first Baron. They're looking to contest the second one, and this fight may just be the game.
25.5 minutes. Slowly adding to that gold lead. Order don't need to rely on crazy fights, individual performances. They've just had solid teamwork throughout not only this series, but the entire Gauntlet run so far. And if they win, this would be Order's best performance. That 4th place meme would be broken, Bryce.
Absolutely would. Very nice check of the bush. Swiffer gets his Banshees procced as this is
That's
10
a lot of
members
damage
on
onto
the screen.
Swayfell. Look at that into the last
Ooh.
Crescent. It's going to be Avant trying to turn the fight. The Braum gets
Hail
thrown
ulti.
up there as Hail
Swaith's
ulti comes
dead.
out. Swaith is out of there right now. And Olaf, Chippy's coming through trying to make the fight, but Order doing a great job of shuffling around, collapsing the double kill as the Vayne has gone down. And Order, the triple again for the Kale. Tally picks himself up a Quadra.
And in 2 back-to-back team fights, a triple then a quadra. His ulti was the difference there. Swaith uses absolutely everything. He falls down immediately. Gold lead blows up to 5,000, and they're just going to win the game.
Is the scariest champion at level 16. Well, that's level 14.
Yeah.
Holy crap, man.
Both of these team fights, AV, they just hard commit and they get punished every single time. This is just the end.
And Avant tried to throw a spanner in the works, but there is absolutely nothing doing. Order. They're going up to match point after this. It's all Nexus. And Avant, they keep trying to fight it out. The fight keeps on going, but they don't even need to take it. It is Order in this court as they go up within 1 game of the series.
And if you think back to game number 1, you think about how that game started, an Order 2-0 start to this day is incredibly scary for AV fans, anyone on that side of the coin. This is not a good situation to be in. We are heading into game number 3 now. AV, they have side selection. They've played 1-1, they've played Sybil, they've played Sway. So they have all of their options open, but this is a rough position to be in. That game was much cleaner than game number 1.
And that just means that Order are leveling it up right now. Avant have made a couple of changes. You saw the different styles you pointed out with Swaythin. And he had good individual plays.
Yeah.
I think Avant did have the right idea. The problem is Order just did not present a target.
They did exactly what Jake was saying on the couch. He's like, yes, like, don't attack the bottom lane. They did get a gank down there. They got a kill. They potentially looked for like a TP play that didn't end up happening, but it was the Chippy's blue side blind pick Olaf. Like, yes, they probably went into that knowing that he's going to take the Kale, and they're like, yes, we will punish the Kale. They got a single kill, but they weren't really able to leverage that one. You know, it was TP advantage that just got sat on for a very long time. They couldn't snowball out that lead far enough because they were in a gold lead for honestly the majority of that early mid game, right? Like we get to 20 minutes before that team fight happens, Tally gets a triple kill, Order gets the Baron. AV had a gold lead for that entire game. They are finding picks onto Swiffer. They're picking on the Zoe, blowing the cleanse flash, but it really is about the early game leads and transitioning them into a way to end that game. It didn't look like they had like a significant enough lead to force Order into a bad position, and unfortunately, Tally came online, got a good team fight, just even if it was just happenstance, right? Like, he cleans up 3 kills, he's just the scariest player on League of Legends and cleans them up.
I'm going to make a bold prediction here, Bryce.
3-0?
I don't think Kale's getting through.
Oh, okay. I've gone.
I don't think that's that bold anymore. I mean, it's starting to look like a momentum builder. But yeah, Tally was an absolute monster.
Yeah,
and in the beginning of the game, like it's as you said, you know, it seems more Olaf favored. There was him kind of getting back into the picture because there was so much focus elsewhere on the map, anyways.
Yeah.
But yeah, once he got off to the races with the Trinity Force, there was no stopping him.
Yeah, absolutely. Because like I still like the things that AV are doing. Aladoric has had like a fairly good series so far. The Alistar, the Rakan, he's getting everywhere on the map. He's impacting mid lane. He's looking for plays bottom side. They're constantly fishing for plays. It's not like AV are sitting there and just not doing anything and Order are eventually winning the game. Like, we are at a 2-0, but I feel like that scoreline doesn't realistically do the games we've had justice. Like, AV have had good leads in both of them, but it is all about the transition at this point, and best of 5s are all about Band-Aid fixes. all of your preparation can come into the day and be what it is. Like, that is the preparation you've got, but like, they need to make some changes, because if they don't change anything for another game, if they lose this one, they're out of the Gauntlet.
Yeah, so it's all on the line here right now, and well, 2-0 up for Order. And speaking of Order, why not get some Maccas while we wait for Game 3?
We don't believe in labels at Macca's, like dinner or breakfast, so we're getting rid of them. Now you can enjoy dinner or breakfast whenever you want it. McDonald's all-day menu, available 24/7.
Still, my favorite part of the OPL is Pyra's McDonald's transitions.
Absolutely, because he's getting creative, because there's a couple of them a day.
Oh.
And if you just do it at the same time every single time, I appreciate the professionalism that he brings to the show.
Can I make a request?
Hello.
Can we put in a call to order to throw the next 2 games just so we can get to the 5 to see how he handles it?
Request denied, I think.
Well, I'm going to talk to someone else above you about that. All right, let's start with the draft, because that seems like a very
logical
good place to start.
Yep.
It's where the game starts.
Absolutely.
And we see why Kale was banned all 4 games by Mammoth yesterday.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you have a look at this, and this is a much more Avant style game. You got a bottom lane that is like probably one of the best scaling bottom lanes in the game. Vayne, just insane late game, and then you've got Rakan, best engaged support. And then you've got a top side of the map with like enough CC and damage to be able to really pick on the lanes. And that's what they did. Swaith is a guy that starts the ball rolling for this team. He fundamentally changes the way you have to play League of Legends, because he plays like Evelynn, Kayn, these hard farming, hard ganking junglers, and they look like they really put the top side, like the half-court press, if that's what you want to call it, on Order. They killed Tally early. They denied him a lot of CS. They killed Swiffer. They took his turret. They took Grift Herald. Bottom side of the map belonged to Avant in this game. And then it kind of stopped again, to be honest. Like, I don't know how, but both of these times I've been like, wow, Avant's like really in the driver's seat. Then they just like slow down, lose all momentum, and the sting has really gone out of these games, I feel like, in the mid-game.
Do you think, I mean, if you take a bully lane, which Shippies does, it doesn't really work if you don't continue to bully, really. Do you think that they just got complacent and let it happen? That they went, we've got Swaith on a champ who, you know, changes the map, that you never know where she is. And then it just went, oh, well, we're just going to sit back and...
Well, I think what happened was there was a dive that was really instrumental to me. It was the one where Chippy's 1v1 got the KL ultimate, and then tried to redive, realized he wasn't going to be able to get it, and had to burn flash to get back out. In my head, this is like one of those ganks where Ejim explained it really eloquently yesterday. It's like you tried to win the lane immediately. Where KL ult is such a long cooldown early game, you have like 2 minutes to win the game. So don't redive by yourself. Keep your flash. You know, bring the Evelynn up top. Without KL ult, Urgot Kale kind of sounds like a crappy 2v2, to be honest, at that stage of the game. Like, you've got the Berserker, run over the lane, you know, push down the plates. Because, like, the way I think about lanes is, like, a good lane is, like, you're taking, like, probably 2+ plates. A great lane, you're taking 3+ plates. And I think that Olaf is a great lane. I think he needs 3+ plates and some kills to kind of be justified in the game, is the way I would put it. And unfortunately, they got 2 plates and a kill, and it didn't seem to be enough, because Tally in like 11+ was just like dominating the map.
But it did seem like Shock was doing a relatively good job early game on putting on some pressure, which is something that AV couldn't do last game. They couldn't get pressure on towers and plates early.
Well, the thing is like I've said it all split long. Like, Shock is like Avant's best player in my head. Like, he doesn't normally get like as much praise as maybe a Gunkrab, who's very flashy on something like a Tristana or a Swaith for his ingenuity. But Shock, actually, like, when people say it's hard to pick ban versus Avant, primarily they're talking about Shock. Swaith is pretty like linear, even though he does play strange stuff. And I think that Shock is kind of the, like, I say this about mid lane all the time, but it's a pivot point of the map. You control mid lane. You can choose to control a side, even against the flow of the game, right? And I think that, like, in majority of his games, he gets controls. He's had terrific performances against people like Triple, Swiffer, and has been able to really lead Avant in this year and this split. He's, like, one of the biggest success stories, I think, of Avant Gaming this season. And he's playing really well today, but in the mid to late game, like, you pick a comp like that has an Evelynn no engage, Rakan kind of solo engage, you need to win the laning phase. Like, you need to run over the top. Order's still running, Urgot tank, Braum tank. They're running much more well-rounded comp. That doesn't mean better comps. It just means, like, they kind of do more things. And then Avant's comp needs to do the thing that they do really, really well. Otherwise, the game just gets tough.
And so how do you feel that Swaith went in this game? Because obviously it has the advantage of seeing how the first game went, coming in with some knowledge, even though we did mention the fact that they're swapping sides for game number 2, which seems to have been a great choice by Order there. How did Swaith perform in your eyes?
Yeah, I think that his early game was like terrific. I think, they read that you can't contest Urgot Braum level 1, and they went for their late invade. It really worked out wonders. It split James off a lot of, Tally off a lot of experience. And then he made like a lot of the early game plays work. My kind of criticism was like they had a bully side laner in Olaf. And like, once again, credit to Order. Jake played it really, really well. His hover behind Tally is like, you don't get a stat for that. Like, it's the old thing of like, you don't get a stat for laying a solid screen in basketball, or, the rebound mark that like leads to a goal on the other end really easily. Like, you don't get like the showboating stats for it, but his hovering of Tally, like Swaith was looking for the play, but that play needed to work. They needed to be able to kill Tally, transition the lead somewhere else, and they couldn't get it done.
It's like the thing where like great music in movies is music that you don't notice. Great special effects are things you don't notice, that you just go, those kinds of moves by supports where you go, oh, I didn't really notice the things that you were doing, but if you weren't doing them, it makes a massive difference to the game.
And I mean, this is why I think that Order really has leveled up, because they seem to be taking cues from each other. Because yesterday it was Swiffer doing it. And I think Ejim pointed this out on the cast. Like, Swiffer was hovering Tally yesterday. Today, Swiffer's not on a champion that can do it. If Zoe ever bumps into Evelyn, like, she just gets eaten alive. Evelyn, one of the scariest champions in League of Legends. I love her. She's such a great champ. And then, so Jake does it this time around. He learns from Swiffer, and he ensures that that's the way he's going to play the game. So I think that, Order, once again, I don't think they've shown anything different. I think they're playing very stale, boring, slow League of Legends that, like, they're just always saying we're going to take a better team fighting comp. And I think the ball's really in Avant's court to be like, we're going to play an electric early game of League of Legends. And they're a team capable of it. Even though this series is 2-0, they come out, they start playing their best early games. I still think they can nearly blow Order out, because Order's early games, they've fallen behind both games. Like, they've lost Rift Herald both games. Like, Avant is a team that can really put you on toast in the first 15 minutes of the game. They've done it to Order 3 times this season already.
And so I was going to ask that, heading into this, down 2 games, it's best of